Hello and welcome to another episode here on the channel. My name is Camsmo and today we talk about microtransactions. What are microtransactions? Well, you probably already have heard of them, or well, you probably have already used them. And the answer is pretty simple. Microtransactions are transactions you were doing in a video game after you bought it. This is normally happening in an item shop, and a lot of the microtransactions are actually not that micro, to be precise. Like, there are a lot of games out there who are clearly asking much, much more money from you than just $2 or $3, something like that, right? Like, it can go much, much higher. And microtransactions have been in video games since decades. Since the first online games came out, video games actually thought about using microtransactions, and especially in Asia, microtransactions became relatively popular with the people there because most developers couldn't really ask for like a $60 game because that was not the income most of the people in Asia had. And they were just like, okay, you know what? We're giving you the game for free, but here's an item shop, and you have to spend money at some point to progress in that game. And sometimes these costs could be far more expensive than actually buying a game. This is where also like the whole idea came from when we talk about like pay to win mechanics. Now, pay to win mechanics are in most heads a very simple explanation. Pay to win means you are going to an item shop, you are buying an item which is clearly giving you an edge over your opponent, and you can just buy it there, right? And that whole thing has changed. You're not going into an item shop anymore today to buy the mega Deathbringer of Worlds Fire Destruction Sword 2000. You're not doing that anymore. What you were doing nowadays is you're going into a shop, you're buying a skin, or you are buying a obscure item which helps you in some way, but it is far more complicated to determine how useful this item is actually for you and in that game you are playing. Now, I know this sounds a little bit confused, but that is exactly what it is. Like, developers and publishers have learned to hide microtransactions and pay to win items behind excuses. Let me give you one for example. I'm playing a lot of Fallout 76 as of now. And Fallout 76 it's a game. It's a game, right? I don't really want to talk about too much about that. Maybe at some point. But they have an item shop. And they started out with skins. That's what you could buy in the item shop. Just skins. Now, they added two other things in the last few months, which are definitely not skins, and had a lot of like heated discussion with inside of the community members, which talked about, is this pay to win? If it's not, and a lot of people say, nah, this is not pay to win. You are not winning anything. You are not getting anything you wouldn't get in the game. You can still do all the things in the game. And this is not like really, you don't need to have it. But the problem is nowadays, that is exactly what developers are doing and publishers are doing. They are designing a problem and then selling you the solution. Let me give you an example. Fallout 76 is notorious for the issue of having room in your inventory. You are overcumbered very quickly, and even your stash you have in your base is limited, and there is no way to increase it. But there are two things which will help you with this said issue. First, there is the repair kit. The repair kit allows you to not just repair your items everywhere in the world, and you don't need a station for that anymore, but they are also not using up your resources. So that means the resources which are relatively rare in the game, you can just use to upgrade your equipment or to build better equipment, which is already clearly an edge about the people who have just the items they need for the repairs, and they cannot use them anymore for crafting or upgrading their items because they have to keep their weapons running or they cannot do it, right? They cannot keep on. And the second big issue is, as I said, the junk, what it is called in Fallout 76, is taking up a lot of space in your stash. But you also need the space in your stash for armor, for food, for water, for equipment, for weapons. Like, you all need that stash for something else. And there is no way to increase your stash. Like, you have 800 stash and you have to live with it. You have to live with it. And with Fallout First, which is a monthly subscription which costs you $15, you can basically go around that issue, because what they're giving you is a special trash stash where you can just throw all your crafting materials in and it's unlimited. You can just throw all your crafting materials in there, so now you can use your stash for weapons, armor, food, and so on. Like, actually what you would use your stash for. And the thing is, these problems just appeared. Or these problems are, there's no solution for that. Bethesda could have easily fixed this. They could have just raised the amount of stash, or they could have just removed the weight from like the junk you need to upgrade your weapons. They could have all done that. But they opted in for the solution of, you're paying us monthly money so that we are fixing your issue. And this is what a lot of video games doing. They are not putting pay-to-win items into their games anymore. They are putting items into the item store which will help you with inconveniences. I think inconveniences is a very good explanation for the things which are happening in a lot of video games. And they are much, much more harder to detect. Like, a lot of things are hidden behind multiple issues, and then you will only recognize that issue over months and sometimes even years of game time before you realize, the second, why has nobody fixed this, and why is the only fix for this problem in your item shop? Because, well, that's exactly what they want. And it became more and more the norm for these kind of games. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that microtransactions are inherently bad in itself. And we are not even talking about loot boxes here. Like, loot boxes itself are just hot garbage, because it's not what is in the box, it's the box itself, which is so much more problematic. But I think we have to talk about that in an extra video at some point. So back to the normal microtransactions. There are definitely games out there who show how you do it. Path of Exile is a wonderful example. They're selling you skins. Yes, the skins are sometimes kind of expensive, but the whole game is for free. All the updates you are getting is for free. And there's not really like a single thing you really need. Yes, you can upgrade your stash to get it more organized, right? And getting a little bit more space in it. But if you're playing it right, you don't really need that. And most importantly, you can create like multiple characters to like move your items around. And even if you decide to upgrade your stash, that will cost you about $10, and it's for your whole account, not just the hero you're running, but for your whole account. So you could argue that if you really enjoy a game and you put like hundreds if not thousands of hours into the game before you are running out of stash place, maybe the $10 are justified. You know, that's the problem I see in a lot of like $60 games, like Assassin's Creed. Wonderful example on how not to do it, where you have just paid $60 or even more to get the newest Assassin's Creed game, and then the game is like, hey, if you ever run in issues with the materials and this is just becoming too annoying for you, you know where to find them. Yeah, just check out the item store in the game and you get all the resources there. if it gets annoying for you. And the thing is, yes, it will get annoying for you. And it is such a shame that more and more developers and publishers resolve to these microtransactions where they're creating an issue, where they're slowing down your progress, so that you in the end have to go into the item shop and buy the items, or you're not playing the game. Another game who actually did that and said they didn't was Diablo 3. Diablo 3 had a real money auction house and a normal auction house. And the whole item system was built in a way that you could farm a boss like 100 times and you would not get the item you need. Or you would get the item you need, but the stats were completely abysmal. So what a lot of people actually did, they were just going into the auction house or the real money auction house and buy the stuff there. Problem is, Blizzard controlled all of this. It was their auction house. It was their game. It was their drop rate. It was basically like in a casino where the casino can determine with electronic machines how high your drop chance is. And they can say, no, you're not getting anything, or you get something. And that's basically the same thing they did with Diablo 3. And a lot of people have called Blizzard out on this. And Blizzard was always like, nah, we would never, ever do that. Yeah, right. And then Reaper of Souls came around, and before the expansion was released, they released a big patch where they had multiple sides of patch notes where they were talking about how they had to completely redo the economy, the item economy of Diablo. You could basically see all their lies they have told you over the months in patch notes debunked. Because the patch notes were telling the truth, and they were telling us, oh yeah, we completely redesigned the percentage chances. We completely redesigned the affixes of the game. We completely redesigned this and that. And then of course they removed the real auction house, the real money auction house, and the normal auction house, because it was completely unfair and it was a moneymaker. And it killed slowly the game because the people realized it. That's the thing. Like, I know that a lot of publishers and developers can sell these microtransactions, which are very unfair to the gamer, because there are so many people there. If they have a lot of people, chances are very high that somebody will buy a microtransaction, right? But if you don't have that many people, more and more people will speak up and will question your motives, which happened with Diablo, which happened with Fallout, right? It's like the more popular a game is, the less the people will ask any questions about how microtransactions work. But the moment you have a smaller community, you have to be much, much more careful in what you are doing. And I will be honest, like the only thing I want to see, if you have to sell microtransactions to me in a full price title, which I'm really not a fan of, like I think that shouldn't be the case, but if you have to do it, just sell me skins. Stop selling me solutions for the issues you have created yourselves. Like, we are slowly moving to the point of developers are selling you patches. But instead of calling it a patch and putting that into a patch, they are putting it into a microtransaction where you have to pay extra. And if you don't do that, well, you have to live with the inconvenience. So that has to stop. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more of me and my stream, you can find me on twitch.tv/chaosmole. I am a full-time partner there, and we are always streaming from Monday to Friday, starting at 8 a.m. EDT, which is 1 p.m. GMT, and 2 p.m. Central European Time, which is my time zone. And we love to play all the games and also talk about a lot of gaming news. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.